Okay, on this presentation, we are going to take a look at GR2, interrogate a thunderstorm cell that has some bad signatures in it. We're going to decide whether or not we want to issue a tornado warning or not. Hi, I'm Tom Herb, and in this presentation, we're going to take a look at an EF3 tornado that ripped through central Tennessee. It was on the ground for over 60 miles, over 60 minutes, up to a half mile wide at one point, and was EF3 as it came through the Nashville area. And that's the storm we're going to take a look at. That was pretty deadly. There were over 24 fatalities in Tennessee that evening on the night of the 2nd, early morning on the 3rd. So we'll take a look. The storm we're going to be looking at, or rather the report we're going to be looking at, is a 641Z over East Nashville. And once again, fatalities were pretty common, a lot of injuries, a lot of damage. And on downrange from Nashville, it was a violent EF4. We're going to be using GR2. Taking a look at the storm, I'm going to back it up till we get to the point where we're about approximately 30 minutes prior to our tornado report that we're interested in. It's the one over East Nashville, Northeast Nashville. You can see our yellow crosshair right there inside of 5 nautical mile. That red ring is 5 nautical mile radius around Nashville Airport. That's our area of concern. And I've got a storm motion plugged in right now, and I'm using the severe thunderstorm warning box for that. Most of the storms were moving from about 270 at 40 knots roughly. This one, at this point, they're using 49 knots. We'll take a look at that, see how it looks. And let me go ahead and put the storm track on it. So this is, remember, about 30 minutes prior to our event, and looks like maybe 20 minutes till it gets within range of our 5 nautical mile radius around Nashville Airport. Now, looking at the track, using that storm motion, you might think, well, it's going to be outside of 5, but that's a little too close. That's less than a mile away, and a little too close for to call for just blatantly saying, well, it's going to be outside of 5. So we're not going to do that. At this point, National Weather Service had just canceled this tornado. This is a cancellation on this tornado warning, and there was only the severe thunderstorm box. I'm going to take that off for now just to keep some of the clutter down. And you can see there was another. This tornado report here is for 532Z. I believe that's mismarked. It has to be mismarked. This should be 632Z. And once again, fatal tornado at that point, EF3. So EF3 is it's tracking across Nashville. A little bit later on downrange from Nashville, it did ramp up to EF4. Once again, over 60 nautical miles an hour. But here's our track, and we got to figure out, well, do we really want to ignore a tornado warning at this point? But we've got a good reflectivity signature there, a good hook echo. That's where I parked that storm motion. Storm track is right on the chin of that hook. Rear flank, right rear quad, right rear flank downdraft right there on the rear of the inflow notch. We got a big, strong inflow notch there. And we also have a pretty good rotational couplet, cyclonic rotational couplet. Let's take a look at that. And it lines up pretty well with our, pretty close. Most of it looks like it's in the inflow notch, though, and that would be side lobe contamination. So this is probably a reflection of a mid-level meso, a very strong meso. And we're seeing that the speeds on this all the way up through, we're starting at about 2,000 feet here. And all the way up, we're seeing strong meso. So we plant our marker there and shop around over here for our max outbound. We've got 125 knots. That's off the scale for meso. And if we can manually verify meso, about 80 to 90% of those will produce severe. And somewhere between 15 to 45% will produce a tornado. So manual verification is very important. And I'm of the mindset that if we got a strong meso, in this case it's off the scales, and a nasty reflectivity signature go along with it, I'm going to be considering pulling the trigger on a tornado warning. So at this point, we're 30 minutes out roughly. We should be looking at a tornado warning for Nashville at this point. The only possible situation would be if it deflected off further away from the 5 nautical mile radius, which we could always cancel later if it looked like it was going to. I feel better having my tornado warning out at this point right here. So checking against the rotation there. So we started out about 2,000 feet. We can go ahead and bump it on up. We're still looking at, this is 13,000 feet. This put us about, it'd be about 10,000 feet of 10,000 feet of vertical extent or thickness to the meso. We're not really getting any help from the meso algorithm at this point, but we've got 80, 90, there's almost 100 knots. There it is, 100 knots of gate to gate shear, or rather meso shear, not gate to gate. So we don't really have good gate to gate shear, but only about 4 miles separating the two endpoints of that rotation. So pretty strong. The as shear is not really high, but it's significant. 7 on the as shear is pretty good. We could probably skinny that up a little bit and get a little more as shear out of it, but over 100 knots, that's off the charts on the meso. And we'll go up one more just to play it safe, and that puts us at about 16,000 feet. So there's 42, I think I saw in there, 43, and 50, so over 95, over 90 knots of rotational shear, still at 16,000. So we got a manually verified meso. And once again, looking at that reflectivity signature, we probably should have a tornado warning out at that point. Please go ahead and watch part 2 and see how the rest of this plays out. If you have any questions, just leave comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe.